During the spawn, bass can be doing one of three things. They can be cruising, looking for beds, they can be locked and loaded on a bed, and they can be guarding fry and recovering. And if you pick up the wrong rig and wrong bait, it's going to leave you with a big fat zero at the end of the day. And that's why you want to keep these three rigs or baits ready to go at any time during the spawn, so you can catch bass no matter what stage they're in. So when we talk about spawning bass, I think there's really three sections of the spawn that we can talk about. Immediate pre-spawn, which is what I lovingly refer to as the pre-spawn funk, which is where the bass haven't really committed to the beds. You might see a few males fanning beds off. You might see some roaming males and females. And they get really hard to catch. Now when that's going on, that's when I like to bring out these finesse swim baits. 3 inches or less. I think they're just so subtle, it gets those super spooky, shallow roaming bass who don't like to be out in the open to bite. And some of my favorites are this one right here. This is the Damiki Armor Shad paddle tail. So it's basically the armor shad with a paddle tail. And this is one of my favorite Clearwater colors. This is American shad. Next up, we've got another great little morsel that's super subtle. And this is the X-Zone Swammer in 2.75 inches. This one, if I can remember the name, it's a mouthful, is Pro Blue Red Pearl, I believe. Again, there'll be links in the description to everything. So do me a favor, either scan this QR code or go to the links in the description. It'll take you to Tackle Warehouse. Bookmark that link for us, and anytime you go buy from Tackle Warehouse, make sure you use that link. Does not cost you an extra dime. It is a great way to support the channel. We don't ask for anything else. And like I always say, we do this on the water all the time, so it really does help us out. And these are really my 3 go-tos. These are the ones that I am pulling out first. This is the Kitech Easy Shiner. Now, this is, I think, a Tackle Warehouse exclusive. It's called TW Ghost Shad. And man, it has been deadly the past few days when they've been up there roaming. Now, generally, the hook that I prefer on these is this one right here. I love the eyeballs on it. I think it gets me bites. Now, it's got a spring. You can see it sticking out the side there because this one's been chewed on a little bit today. But this is the Angler Tungsten 1/8 Eclipse head. So it is tungsten. It's very small. It's very subtle. It's got a very good hook in it. Now, as far as knot and how to rig this thing, I actually have another great video talking about when, where, and why to fish these super finesse or ultra finesse baits. I'll leave a link to that at the end of this video. So let's talk about the rod, reel, and line we're going to use with this. You need a finesse rod. You need to make a long cast on these and stay at a distance because these bass are super spooky this time of year. This is a Fitzgerald Versa. This is a medium heavy, but I'm pretty sure it's like a slow. It's got an incredible soft tip on it. So it's got a good backbone, but an incredibly soft tip. You can cast these bait a country mile with it. I've got that teamed with an Akuma that I've had for a long time. I think this is the ITX. Again, I'll put links in the description. I've had this for a minute. Of course, as always, I've got my K9. I've got my 10-pound test braid to an 8-pound test leader. You're going to get a hold of some big bass in clear water. With these small baits, if you want to get it down a little bit, you can run that 6-pound. 8-pound is just good all-around size for me, especially because they may be up around a little bit of wood. So it helps get them away from that. So you got to remember, these bass really are not there to feed. They are cruising, finding the place that they want to go lay their eggs, or they're finding the place they want to go make their beds. They're super finicky right now. They're super spooky right now, especially in this clear water. So most of the time, if you see them, they're going to be real hard to catch. once you see them, because they're going to see you. So you want to stay back off the bank. You want to make sure that you're making long casts, either 45 or almost 90 degree the bank, depending on the contour. Slow, subtle bait. I think that's what really makes this bait so good, is that it's so subtle. You can fish it so slow that it just stays in their very small strike zone for a long time. Now the bass are probably going to spawn, especially the largemouth, in different places on a lot of your lakes than they spawn on mine. On mine, they can literally spawn on a point. They can literally spawn on a bluff. A lot of your largemouth are going to slowly move back to some ditches, some ditch pockets is what I call them. A lot of your smallmouth are going to find what we call slate rock, and that's what they're going to spawn on. Now, they might spawn way in the backs of creeks and some ultra flat areas. This really, for me, is when those bass have not pulled up on those beds, but they're in those sort of areas where they're just kind of roaming back and forth. Not really feeding anymore, just ready to make a bed or move up on one. You got to kind of find those areas where it's going to be the last deep water in a pocket or a creek or any sort of little staging area. So like I said, you're going to make a long cast. A lot of times I'm going to throw it up super shallow because I want to bring it down into that deep drop off, that first drop off, bring it out over top of it. That'll be a lot of times where you get that bite. So you'll bring it down. You're going to want to keep it right on the bottom. Every once in a while, you're going to want to touch bottom with it just so you know you're right there. So again, we go back to, if you never touch bottom, you're reeling it too fast. If you touch bottom all the time, you're reeling it too slow. And again, I think lightweight is important because it's going to help slow you down, and it's going to help slow the bait down and keep it in that strike zone. Setting the hook, it's going to be, pretty much straight up or a 45, and then just take your time with these bass. This is light rod, light line, pretty much light everything. So just take your time, don't try to horse them in. You're going to lose them if you do. Now we move into the middle stage, or stage 2 of the spawn, which is actually the spawn. They're up on the beds, they're up there doing their business. Where I live, some lakes are clear enough and they've got largemouth in them, and we can actually sight fish for those bass. Now I do things a little bit weird, sight fishing, and I think it's because I can get them to bite faster. And again, there's not a lot of brush, there's not a lot of trees and that sort of stuff. There's not a lot of cover or grass for these bass to get hung up in. So I don't really have to worry. Once I get them to bite, I can get them out over open water pretty quickly because everything's so deep, and wear them down at that point. And then there's other lakes, like some of the smallmouth lakes over in Tennessee, that you're not going to see those bass. They're going to be just out of the visibility of the water. So taking these and dragging them until you get the bite is the way to go. And you really key in on the type of rock when it comes to that. But one of my favorites, and something that's really paid off, something that I really like especially when I'm sight fishing, is this little bug right here. Now this is the 10,000 fish Sakushi bug, and it is made of a stretchy plastic, and that is a big key to me because I like that this stands up. To me, it represents, and I seen a study a few years ago, crawdads, but crawdads where the claws have been picked off. In that study, basically they showed that bass will more readily eat a crawdad with no claws or one claw. Now, I can't tell you where the crap to find that study, but I know I seen it on somebody's YouTube channel. All that being said, I like this because when I'm sight fishing, it stands straight up. So it's always kind of moving in the water and really pissing those bass off. And that's the key. When you're sight fishing, they're not feeding. They're just mad that you're in their space. And I think a small little morsel like this gets bit way faster, especially in clear water, than a big white bug or something like that. Again, this is from 10,000 Fish. It is the Sakushi bug, and this is green pumpkin orange. So it's basically an Alabama crawl. Now I couple that with an angler tungsten Ned, and I go either a 1/8 or a 1/4. Generally that's the size I go with. The shallower the better. Sometimes I'll use a little heavier than what I need, simply because I can really get it to drop fast and right in that bed. Now the other one that I like is this, and this is from Exxon Lures. This is a green pumpkin blue flake. You got to forgive me, I forgot the exact color, but I think it may just be that green pumpkin blue. And the bass tend to love it. The smallmouth especially. This is one of my favorites when I'm just dragging down the bank, that I'm really targeting that very specific slate rod. So when I'm throwing the Ned Rig, this is the combo that I like, I use most often. This is a TFO option. It's a 7-foot medium fast. Love this gray color, love the foam handles. And I've got this tagged up with a favorite. Now this reel is no longer available, and that's sad because this is actually a really good reel. I think this is called the Rush, but I'll put it in the description, a reel that I like that would work the same for you. Now as you can see, I've got the pink canine braid, 10-pound test canine braid, so I can cast far, it sinks fast. And as my leader, I've got 8 to 10-pound test Pro 100 100% fluorocarbon. And as always, 10% off on that canine line. Go try it, you will not be disappointed. So when I'm fishing the Ned, I'm doing 2 different things. If I'm able to sight fish, I'm pulling up, I'm trying to make sure that I keep that trolling motor away from that bed. So I'm gonna do my best, and it's hard to do on these mountain lakes, to use my 8-foot power poles. If I can at least get one shoved in so that I'm not moving a lot, I'm gonna sit there and cast this just past the bed and drag it down. Now I'm going to literally hit the bass. I want to irritate the bass. If he's coming over and not taking it, or picking it up and spitting it out, I'm going to drag it over his back. Not gonna snag him, never snag him. I'm going to hit him in the chin with it. I'm gonna pull it right up to his nose and bounce it off of it a couple times. I'm gonna make this fish so mad he can't do anything but swallow it whole. If I'm fishing for bass that I can't see, for beds, like I do with the smallmouth a lot of time, I'm going to find that area where I believe they're going to be, and sometimes that just takes time and years of going to spots and fishing it. And I'm going to make a cast right up to the bank, and I'm going to drag it down. Generally no more than about 5 to 8 feet down, because that's where they're going to be. Now you need to pay attention to your water levels, because if they move up on the bed and they're 3 feet deep today, and 2 days from now, those beds, the water level has raised, and those beds are now 2 more feet, so they're 5 feet deep. Pay attention to that sort of stuff. It's really going to matter to getting more bites, because if you're going down the bank throwing and working it down to 3 feet and going, you're 2 feet too shallow. A straight up hook set, you're going to play them, because again, it is a spinning rod, it is light. Pull away from the bank if you're on the Highlands reservoirs like I am. Just take your time, reach down there, land them on your thumb in a net, and have fun doing this. It's a blast. So now let's talk about the 3rd phase, which generally can be the longest phase. And you can do a lot of different things to catch these bass. We're going to talk about bass that are still specifically tied to or connected to the bed in some way. So a lot of times we're going to be talking about male bass right here. And that means we're going to be talking about male bass that are either still up there guarding the bed itself, or we're going to be talking about male bass that are going to be guarding fry. So when that's going on, I don't think there's a funner way to go catch bass than on a floating worm. Three of my favorite colors, and I'm going to be honest with you, this is one of the original floating worms from the original company. I don't remember who it is. They're still in business. Forgive me if you're out there and part of this company. I don't have the package anymore, but I've really got to pick some more of these up because this is Sherbert. And again, links will be in the description. And this is one of my favorite. The first ever tournament I fished, we almost won on Douglas Lake with this little worm right here. And I think we finished second. Shout out to my buddy Tim Saylor. Anyway, so this little worm is a floating worm, but you don't actually want it to float, but it's great to throw up shallow and work past those fry garters or those bed guarding bass. So these next two are from Bass Munitions, and this color is probably my go-to color when it comes to floating worms, whether it be for largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, and that is good old bubblegum. And this worm's a little bit bigger, you can cut it down for size, but this is my go-to color. So this is probably the most well-known color when it comes to floating worms. Probably my third to least favorite. And this is called, again, from Bass Munitions, this is called methylate. Now my favorite way to rig this, and Geeks Again, Pitsine Knot, it's in 100 videos of mine, is like this, just wacky rig. And you want to use a little bit heavier hook. This is a Nico hook, I think, from Mustad. You can adjust the drop of the bait based on the weight of the hook, but this is the simplest way for me to rig it, and I'll just throw it around cover because these worms are so loud as far as colors, they will draw fish out of brush. For the wacky is just a spinning combo. Generally, I won't even put a swivel on here because just with the wacky rig, you're just not going to get that much line twist out of it. But this is the rod that I like to use. But this is the Cashin Z2. So this is the second version of the new Cashin rod. Now this rod's made 100% in America, even the blank. Now this is a 7-1 medium light fast action. I like the length of it. I can be accurate with it. I've got that coupled with a Pfluger President reel. And on here, I've got 12-pound test monofilament. Now again, you could use the K9 co-poly, and I've got a 10% off discount for that right here. Now one thing I will say about this, it's target fishing. Again, you're not going to go down the bank. You're really going to target lay downs, you're going to target airs, you're going to target fry. Fry in the post spawn is one of the best ways to fish this. If you're in an area where there's a lot of bass that have spawned, this is the next thing you pick up once those males are guarding fry and once those females are sitting in the trees working their way back out to the main lake. Now, one of the things I like to use, because a lot of times if I'm fishing around maybe say an isolated piece of wood or something to that effect, or a bush that I can work around the outside, because remember what I said, this is loud, and what I meant by loud was the colors are very loud, so they're going to draw bass to them. I have drawn bass out of huge bushes just working a wacky rig version around the outside, and this is really one of my favorite ways to do it. Again, you can skip this so much easier on a spinning combo, and if you need to adjust the fall, what you'll do is just size up your hook. So if you want to go with a worm hook, something a little heavier gauge, you'll get a little quicker fall and you can work it a little bit faster. I've fished this for years and they don't care about the hook. They're so focused in on that twitchy little worm and that crazy color. You could almost put a gaff on it literally and they probably wouldn't care. If they're on it, they're on it. Again, you're going to fish it the same way. You're going to throw it out there. You're going to skip it out there. This, you're going to work around the cover, not so much right in the thick of it. And you're going to let it sink. You're going to twitch it up just till you see it. You're going to let it sink out of sight. You're going to twitch it up until you just barely see it and let it sink out of sight. And that's how you're going to work it back to you. And like I said, a lot of times it's as good as a topwater bite because you are going to see that bass just come up and turn on it. Good set of polarized glasses are going to help. Links to that in the description. And again, set the hook straight up. You're going to use a little lighter wire hook on this, and fight them, get them into the boat, you know, thumb or net. All right, so I hope these help you. These are sort of my go-to techniques for the spawn. Now, if you want to learn a little more about that pre-spawn funk and those little minnow baits, make sure you go check out this video right here. Otherwise, questions and comments in the comment section below. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell. Be part of the 100% Watch Squad. Hey, geeks, watch the videos for us no matter what. Help us because of the hack. And you geeks rock.